What's up, guys? Welcome back to Whiskey and Motorcycles. This week we're going to work on a Sportster. So it's had a pretty bad fork leak for a while, and I finally got it washed up the other day. I got the soft tail off the lift just now. I had to clean it up and come back from the trip. It's still not perfect, but it's cleaned way better than it was. I didn't want to put it away too dirty, not get on it. But so anyways, we're on to this now. I have a few things to do to this, but this video is strictly going to be about how to replace the fork seals, because I did it on the soft tail before I left, but I wasn't super satisfied with the video because it went over a lot of stuff and I didn't film too much of that process. So this video is only going to be about how to replace your fork seals. So if that's what you're here for, I'll go over every detail I can, everything I know, and show you how to do that. And that's all I'm going to try to focus on. In the next video, I'll go about telling you all the other problems and kind of going back to normally what I do, kind of here and there, and just kind of explaining a little bit about things. But anyways, this video, we're going to go ahead and get started. I've got the front wheel off, so that's pretty much step one. No matter what you're going to do, take your front wheel off. Normally your front fender. This bike, I have a I don't know, drawing a blank. It's like a support between the forks, because I'm not running a front fender on this. This bike I have set up as like a dirtster. So if you're new here just for this video, that's kind of what this bike is. It's 39mm front end, same with 41. All this, they're pretty well all the same. You'll get the gist of it at least. Anyways, so I'm gonna go ahead and take this off, and then I'll come back and kind of tell you the steps from there. And I'm also probably going to get this out of the way. That way I have plenty of room to put my drain pan out here to drain my oil. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get that stuff set up, and I'll come back to you guys and explain more. Alright, so I got that bracket out of here, and then there is a screw in the bottom of these. I went ahead and just pulled this one out real quick. You take a Allen, let me grab the camera here, and up inside here on both of these, you can kind of see that hole right up in there. You can almost see the Allen. You take an Allen key, or however, long T-handle. Sometimes they're really hard to get out, so I would recommend getting something that you make sure it fits. If you can, get like a small drill impact on them. They work great sometimes. Or tap them with a hammer if you've got a way to do that. Helps loosen them up. There's lots of different tricks, but either way, be careful, because a lot of times they will like to strip easy. Well, I've done these fork seals in this before when I did the suspension on this, and so they weren't too tight. They actually popped out really easy, because I did what I needed to do on them. Anyways, so once you get that, you normally have these little chrome caps or what have you. A lot of times the easiest way to do them is take a screwdriver like this, pop them just a little bit, and then go around the outside. They pop right up. And then what I like to do, of course I don't have mine here, I have them in my bag downstairs, but the little tiny bungee straps, I'll take them like this with those and put them up over them. I'll go ahead and knock this one off real quick and just use this one big one to hold it. There's a bunch of different ways you can do them to hold them up out of your way, but just kind of the way I've done them. It kind of works. Let's just get one side up. Bungee strap. Pull the other one. It doesn't have to be real tight. Depends on what bungee strap you're using. Alright, then after you get those bungeed up, there's this little dust seal cap right here. You're going to want to kind of do the same thing with it. See if you can get your screwdriver in there. Pop them up out of the way. And now you have this little snap ring in there. You can see it right there. And there's, again, multiple ways you can kind of get that out of there. Just make sure you're kind of careful with your forks. But you can do as easy as that. Take the screwdriver out, or take a screwdriver to it. Once you've done that, now you're down to your actual seal. All you got to do is just obviously make sure that bolt's out of the bottom, because that bolt in the bottom holds it. And you just start pulling it right off. Just like that. Now, once you do that, you pretty much see everything you got here. You have this little bit on the end, little cap. Sorry, I gotta adjust the camera here. Make sure you're seeing the right thing. I got oil over my hands. And then you've got these bushings in here. They're all a little different. Anyways, but the seal is what we're actually going to replace this time. I replaced all the bushings and everything last time. And it actually looks like it almost pushed this bushing down when I drilled it in, or pounded it in last time. But I'll take a look at that and make sure it's all good first. But then you pretty much just repeat the step for the next side, and that's how you get them off. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of clean my hands up, clean this up, and then I'll bring you guys back and show you what to do after that. Now, I wanted to note real quick, while I was doing this one, I just pulled that Allen key out again. So a lot of times to get this oil out, you got to push up, and the oil will really spew out. So make sure you got your pan or whatever. That's why I had it angled earlier, and that's why I ended up kind of hitting it there. But you got to make sure you got it angled, because each time it'll push out more oil. You do that a few times. That's kind of how you get it all the way out. You can also kind of take the cap off the top. It'll help drain a little bit, because I don't have the caps off right now. But either way, just be mindful of that. All right, so I just want to go over this side again, just to make sure you guys know kind of how I did that. Sometimes, I know you're watching these how-to videos, you really want to see people repeat it, and you don't have to go back and forth in the video watching things over again. And this don't take very long. So like I say, pop that little dust cover off there with your screwdriver and hammer. Then you got this little snap ring in here. Again, pretty easy, straightforward. Use your screwdriver or whatever. Just be careful with it, because like I said, you don't want to scratch or damage your fork. Take that. You can kind of put it up out of here, out of the way, like I did there. And then after that, you just kind of pull it down a little bit at a time until it comes off there. And then that's it. I'm going to grab a rag to do this one. That way I don't hit my oil thing or make a mess. Get some paper towels or whatever. And honestly, with this one, you can even just shove them in here if you're worried about a bunch of oil coming out and whatnot, because it comes out from that top. So if you get a bunch of that in there, hold it. Pops right off. Shouldn't say right off. It does take a little bit of force sometimes. And that's why, if you can, it's easier to at least take the fork lowers off with your forks attached. That way you can really pound on them and pull them. I almost did a video of where I did one fork out and one fork in, but it's the same process pretty much. The only difference is the order you put things on, kind of, I guess. Even then you can still do it from the bottom, but sometimes if you have them off, you can take them in from the top. But the order itself on here is still the same, and that's what really matters. And I'll go over that and show you that in detail when I put this back on there. All right, so as you can see here, these are my new seals and washers and snap rings and all that come with the kit that I got. Now, like I said, when I did the suspension before, I put the new bushings and everything in there. But this time I just got the seal kit, because I think it's just a seal issue. Anyways, I have it all laid out, everything you have. I didn't end up doing these. When you just like change your fork oil, you can take these little screws out. They're on the back of the fork. You'll see them. Most every bike has them, and they come with new copper crush rings and everything too. So if you end up doing that to drain your oil, you can replace those. But these are the copper crush rings for those bolts that we pulled out of the bottom of the fork. So make sure you keep these for sure if you're doing it exactly the way I'm saying to do it. And anyways, like I said, this is what it came with. I did buy this oil though, and there's different weights. You can kind of look for your bike, or you can do your research and figure out what you want. 10 weight, 15 weight, stuff like that. They're all different depending on what kind of ride you want, what kind of riding you're doing. That's just what I chose for this one. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get the rest of that stuff cleaned off there, and then we'll get these ready to go on. I also have, matter of fact, I'll show you real quick before I even use it. There's multiple different variations of these, but this is the one that I chose to use. And I also have the 41 millimeter size from my Softail, but this is a metal seal driver, and you got these clips that go around and locks this in place, so it's really easy to just take it apart and put it together. So if you're doing forks that are off or on the bike like I'm doing now, this is where it really comes in handy. Sometimes if you have to take the forks off, it wouldn't matter if you did that or not. When I did it last time, I had the forks off, and I made a piece out of PVC, and it was really hard to drive these in there. It worked, but it was not ideal, and I think that's where I messed up, because I didn't quite get it driven down in there all the way how it should have been, and I had to kind of undo it again and try it again. And like I said, that's where I feel like maybe I messed up, or there's just a micro scratch in one of those, or in that fork, and I can't see it. But if you can, I would recommend this because it worked great for my 41 millimeter fork. I haven't used this one yet, obviously, but it's the same thing, and it should work just fine. But I'll show you here in just a minute how they work. So as far as cleaning these forks up, and this goes, you just got to make sure you get these bushings off there. Same, you can use a screwdriver or whatever you have, something like that, to pry those off. You have your lower copper bushing. It's normally the thicker one, and then you have another bushing. I think this is like stainless steel or whatever, just a steel bushing, and it goes on top of the copper bushing just like that. And then you have that ring spacer on top. Then you have your seal, and then of course on top of that, your dust seal. So ours didn't come with a new dust seal, so we have to leave those on there. Actually, before the dust seal, you got these snap rings. Since I got new snap rings, I'm gonna go ahead and put them on there. But we do have to keep these two bushings. Now, these bushings, I'm just gonna clean up the best of my ability. Other than that, they look like they're in decent shape. And even this ring, could probably reuse it if I really wanted to, but I have a new one, so why not use it? So all three of these things are going to go in the garbage. After that, I normally just take like a rag with like a little bit of brake cleaner or something and just really clean up this fork real good. This oil in here wasn't too bad. I may spray a little bit down here just in this fork because this was the one that was leaking, and make sure, because it looks like there might be a little bit of tiny shards of metal or something, just debris, not metal, but just debris in there. So I'll go ahead and make sure I get all that out of there and clean this real good, and then we'll get to reassembly process and I'll show you how that goes. Okay, so you just seen me take this side apart, and then I went ahead and did this one off camera. The thing I want to mention real quick, this is a really good time to polish up your fork lowers if you want to. Mine are a little dirty right now and they need a little polishing on them a little bit more anyways. But these ones I've already done when I first did this bike. I sanded them all down and kind of got as much of a mirror finish on them as I could. Like I said, I need to go ahead and polish on them. Well, I have them off now and kind of get them re-polished up because that polish just kind of wore off at this point. But now's the best time to do that. It's easy. You can articulate them around as much as you want. I even took mine and really cleaned up the back and a couple extra places that had like the rough stuff to them when I did mine. But anyways, I'm not gonna do it this time. I just got like a little drill polish wheel I'm gonna use, but I had a big wheel on my bench grinder last time that I just took them along there and put the polish on them afterwards. Worked great. Just make sure you clean them up real good before you do that, because you don't want to be polishing oil in there. Not really gonna hurt it, but it's not gonna help your finish. So if that's something you want to do, like I said, that's a good time to do it. Also, make sure you clean out the inside real good. These ones aren't too bad because they haven't, the oil hasn't been in there very long. A little over a year since I originally did it. If you see my Softail video, I did those here about a month ago before I went on my big trip, and they were really bad. So just make sure you clean the inside out before you put all your stuff back together. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and polish those up real quick off camera, and then I'll show you guys the assembly process on one of the forks. Alright, so we're gonna go over how to assemble your forks now. I'll go ahead and do it. Let's see. You can probably see it pretty good on this one. Move you guys up just a little bit there. Alright, so make sure this cap is on the end. Very important. I had a friend one time that put these together and didn't do that. So the first thing that goes on there is your seal. Now, I've already cleaned these forks up and everything. If you really want to, which I think I'm going to, take just a little bit of oil, not much, and put on the inside of the seal. Like I say, just a very little bit. If you even have oil on your fingers or something, you can do that just to help it slide up on here a little better and not catch on some things, because you're going to be kind of careful with this seal. These are, after all, these are going to be your new seals. One thing to mention, when you're looking at these seals, you have two different sides, right? You got this side, it's got a little spring in there. Then it has this side, also has a little spring in there. This is more the, it's got an inside, and this is more of a flat. This flat piece goes towards the top. So make sure you're doing that. I'm gonna go ahead and put this one on while I got it in my hands. Might as well. Slides right up on there real nice. Okay, now back to this fork. After you do that, you've got this washer, and it kind of also has like a tapered side and a very flush flat side. You want that tapered side to go towards the top. Once you get that on there, your take it off for just a second. Thought I already had these pieces wiped. I think they do, they're just kind of oily. You're going to take those two bushings. Once you get this washer up there, spacer, and you're going to take the thinnest of the two bushings and put it on first, and it should just kind of slide right on there. Now you're going to take this other bushing and slide it up, and it'll kind of click into place right there. And once you've done that, that's all you're going to have to do for this portion. One thing I forgot to do is clean this dust cap seal on this side that was leaking. So I'll probably do that off camera real quick. But anyways, I'm going to show you one more time because I kind of interrupted that video a little bit, or that side a little bit too much. So it's the same process. So we've already got our seal up there. That goes on first if you're doing it from this side. Then you've got this washer. It's got a flat side, tapered side. Tapered side goes up. Tapered side on. Two bushings. The thinner of the two bushings goes on. Then you grab your thicker of the two bushings. Put it on, and it's going to seat right in this little groove. You're going to kind of hear it click. And then all that stuff should stay on just like that. Slide your seal back up. So I'm going to adjust the camera and come back, and we'll put one of the forks on. Now we're back over at the bike. Grab whichever fork you're going to do first. Doesn't really matter. Make sure you get your Allen key and stuff ready too. Now off the camera, I'm going to be torquing all this stuff down. But since your bike may be different, I'm not going to tell any of the torque specs. I don't want to end up giving somebody the wrong information or them misunderstanding and thinking that's the torque spec for their bike. So for now, we're just going to get it tightened in there. Actually, while I'm doing it, just a little bit. Now this is where I showed you that driver earlier. You're going to want to take that. And first thing you're going to want to drive down in there is your washer. That silver washer spacer we put on there. Kind of hear the difference in the tone. That's when you're ready to go. Make sure you drive that down in there first. If you don't, you'll have a hell of a time getting the seal seated in there where it needs to go. So now, put your seal in there, get it started. Also, same kind of sound. Now, you're gonna have your little snap ring Stretch that over there. Kind of set it in there as much as you can, just with your fingers or what have you. Fingers probably be better than trying to put a tool in there, just because you don't want to scratch it. What I like to do is just put this back on there one more time, and it normally will seat that snap ring down in there with just a few taps, if you've got that seal driven in there enough. Now, sometimes when you're doing this, it may be easier to have the fork out. You get a lot more swing on it. I wanted to show you guys anyways, and I actually double checked, and that seat ring wasn't quite in there all the way. So I just went ahead and pulled it out and then slammed that seal back in there a little more. It took me like 2 hits out of it, and it was in there. You get a lot more swing. So if you got the means to take it out, it is a little bit easier to get those seals driven in there. But either way, now we slid this dust seal cap down. I normally just give it just a couple taps, light taps, around the edge, just to make sure that that's seated. Then you'll take your other decorative dust cap, kind of do the same thing. Make sure it's seated all the way around in a good way, and then give yourself a good wipe down, kind of feel it, make sure it's springing, you don't hear no weird noises. Obviously we still got to fill it up with oil, but other than that, your fork should be back together. Now when you fill it up with oil, kind of the same thing with preference. I'm going to probably go ahead and put them back in there. It's a little bit easier to control this cap and stuff. Sometimes it's easier to control it when it's off, but trying to actually get a grip on this thing to loosen the caps, I would at least do in the triple trees. Now, if you don't know, when I get to it, I'll show you, but there's a little spring in here, and these things can fly off. So it is a little bit easier to control when it's out as far as that part, but just breaking them loose, just kind of break them loose in the triple tree. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this one back in there. Probably go ahead and just grab the other fork out. It's only 2 bolts, and I wanted to adjust the height of them a little bit anyways. They kind of rode up, and then I'll go over that one with you guys real quick too. It'll be a much quicker, just what I did with this one, and then we'll fill them up with oil. Alright, so I'm going to do this next fork now. Like I said, we're going to go ahead and pull this one out. I've actually already loosened both of these. Make sure you're holding this fork. Once you get that second one loose, or once you get one kind of broke loose, tighten it back up just a little bit so you can break the other one loose, because this will slide out very easy. I also have already loosened the top. Fork cap. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna set the camera back up and get this over here where you can see me put everything back in order the way it was supposed to go. All right, like I said, I'm gonna do this one a bit quicker, just because I'm actually gonna take these off here. I'll leave this seal on there for now, but so we've got our washer in there, and that's the first thing we're gonna be driving in. Seated with like really 2 hits probably. I don't know if that third one was necessary, but take our seal. 2 hits. Like I said, it's a lot easier because you can get a lot more swing on this with the fork out. Now, grab that clip again. Just kind of get it set inside that deal, and then pops right in there. Now your dust cap, rubber dust boot, dust cap, whatever you want to call it. I guess this is the dust boot. sure it's sealed all the way around. Then your decorative dust cap. Also, make sure it is seated all the way around. All good to go. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you this one real quick. Now this cap, this is where I said it would probably be a little bit easier if you take it off afterwards. Like I said, I've already loosened this one, so it should come off relatively easy, but I like to stand up on it like this. And once you get to the end, make sure you're keeping pressure down with your ratchet hand. Try not to do that. A lot of yours typically won't have this. This is a spacer for my fork. Anyways, lay this down for just a second. Now, your caps have these O-rings. As you've seen earlier, all of my parts laid out. I have new O-rings. Make sure you're putting those new O-rings on these caps. No matter how bad or they don't seem, just put new ones on it. You got them. Make sure you don't skip that. And I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and I'm gonna put the fork back in the bike though before I fill them with oil. It's just easier to kind of hold the fork and stuff. Okay, now it's time to fill up your fork oil. Get whatever funnel you want to use. Doesn't really matter too much. Whatever you're comfortable with. Get your fluid and pour it in. Now this one takes 10 fluid ounces. Keep in mind, different ones, different bikes are different. This one just takes 10 dry, 9 wet. There's other ways to measure it though too. I've seen guys do it where instead of doing a certain amount, they go by inches down in it that they can feel. Like typically like 4 to 5. So I just did what the Harley spec was. I think Harley's one of the only brands that does it like that, but it's been working, so I just decided not to change it up too much. And then, like I said, I've already put my new O-ring on this cap. Tighten it down. And then I'll torque it to spec here later and go to the other side, do the same thing. Now I measured my fluid out a little different because I don't have a measuring cup, but you can get cups specifically for this, just kind of however you want to do it, but that's just my way of doing it. I have a little scale and then I just pour it in, zero it out on a cup. I pour it in there that way and do it like that. But anyways, so I've got the forks done now. That's all I'm going to do for this video. So if you want to continue seeing what I do to the bike, put the bags and stuff back on the back. I got the problem with the front wheel I have to address. I'll go over that in the next video too. Then come back next week. But if not, thanks for joining. I hope you learned something. Let me know if this video is helpful. If you like this kind of video, I'll try to do them a little bit more every so often. More singular how-to videos. But anyways, just jump down, give me a like and subscribe, and let me know what you think.